Hi there, good noon, and my name is Vikrant. I welcome you to BYJU'S exam prep channel that is dedicated to your success as a B school aspirant. Now, the purpose of this channel is to give you a very holistic, very well-rounded guidance about all the different exams, all the different sections, all the different areas. Within that, my role is to act as your personal coach for all things that are related to English and communication. I also, of course, give inputs on the psychological aspects, the mental aspects of the preparation of the game, right? And today in this particular session, you and I will sit down together and talk about SNAP. So now that all these other exams are inching closer, we are also ensuring that we move towards covering those exams rather thoroughly. So very first thing that I'd like to share with you is that when we say VARC in SNAP, this label will no longer work. So we say VARC in the CAT. The issue with SNAP is that for the last few years, we have not had reading comprehension. So it's mostly VA in SNAP, and in fact, to simplify it even further, I just say that we have English in the SNAP exam. Now, before I dabble into that, before I take you into the English of SNAP, let me give you a quick reminder that our next All India Open Mock will open on 8th of September. So please make sure that you do not miss out on benchmarking yourself against the best of the best. I'm sure quite a few of you did write the previous All India Open Mock. In case you missed out on that, then this is another opportunity for you now. And if you did write that, you know what it entails. Make sure that you continue your growth, your preparation by attending it. And with that, let's dive into our discussion of SNAP, beginning with an overview of the SNAP exam. So what all do you know about the SNAP exam? I know that you've had a session with Saral sir yesterday where we talked about SNAP. So what all do you know about SNAP? Share all those things with me and then we will go ahead and talk about it further. So, you know, if you want to get into SCM HRD, you want to get into SIBM, this is the exam that you go on to write. So, here's a quick overview. What is the test duration of SNAP? Okay, come on, tell me. What's the duration of the SNAP exam? How long is it? 1 hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, what? So, this is a short exam, the shortest that you'd write in the season, which lasts for only 60 minutes. So all those talks about building test, taking stamina, etc., they would typically become moot because at 60 minutes you can very easily cope with it. Then what's the total number of questions here? Once again, 60. And in this exam, you typically find 3 sections. You have a section on quant and DI, which is merged into one. So those of you who are not very comfortable with quant, this is an exam which gives you an opportunity to score a lot of marks, even though you're not well versed with QA and DI. Then you have a section on reasoning, and then you have a section on English, where the English section typically gives you 15 questions, and the remaining 45 come from the other 2 sections. So there you go. Okay, then there is no sectional time limit, which means that you can choose to devote your time in whichever way among the 3 sections. And in fact, English traditionally in SNAP, at least for the last 2-3 years, has been easy. And even if you don't find it easy, what I can guarantee is that it is not going to be time consuming. So these 15 questions, chances are that you'd perhaps be through with these in around 8 minutes, 9 minutes, at the max 10 minutes. So you actually end up using those other 50 minutes for the remaining 45 questions, making the equation significantly favorable for you. And to add to it, the fact that there is no sectional cutoff. So it is not that you have to go out and get a certain number of marks from a particular section in order to get qualified. The only thing that matters is the overall cutoff, and the overall cutoff, I mean, normally we end up targeting a score of around 43 to 45, which is usually the cutoff for SIBM Pune most of the years. It's generally below that. Okay. So Shraddha has a question. Is it important to attempt all the 60? Well, it just matters that you need to have that overall cutoff sorted. But should you attempt all the 60? Let's look at the marking scheme. So you do have negative marks. So if you try to attempt all of them, even when you're not comfortable with them, I think that will not work. But that said, I think you can afford to leave around 10 questions and no more. So if you leave 10 questions, you left with 50. So out of 50 attempts, if your accuracy rate is around 80-90%, it's then that you can realistically look at meeting the cutoff. If the exam is difficult, then the equation may vary. Okay, so that's about the marking scheme. And this is the good thing about SNAP. You are allowed multiple attempts. You can sit for SNAP thrice, and the best of the 3 score will actually be considered. So it is not that it is one of those scenarios where you are one and done. So you know, there are days when you do well, there are days when you may not do that well. So this is an exam which at least gives you that opportunity to become day independent, and the dates this year are 10th, 17th and 22nd of December. Harsh, I absolutely agree with you. Going by the last 3 years of pattern, yes, English is relatively easy. Especially considering that there is no RC. So people who are not very good at RC, people who do not like quant much, this is an exam which definitely is tailor-made for them. Okay, so now let's dive into English specifically. So considering that there is no RC, I would divide the rest of the English into 3 segments. We have grammar-based questions, we have vocabulary-based questions, and we have verbal ability questions. So let's begin with grammar. So quite a few of the questions that you find in the exam are in fact going to be grammar based. And how do you go on to prepare for grammar? So I don't think the strategy should really change. When you and I started working together and I introduced the VA section to you, when I gave you a preparation plan for English, I made sure that each one of these aspects were a part of that plan. I'll quickly reiterate that plan. The very first thing that we do in grammar is that we pick up a basic book of grammar. Okay, so a book that introduces you to grammar. We are not even talking about advanced level stuff, where your job is to go ahead and read that book twice. And typically, depending upon when we started working, I generally say that you go through 7 pages a day or 10 pages a day if you want to start today. In case you did not pay heed to what I told you to do sooner, then your target today will be to read that book at the rate of 15 pages every day. And after the first reading, I expect you to start writing mixed bag practice tests. Right? So this is the approach that you should follow moving on from today. And to dive deeper into what kind of things we get asked, we of course get these fill in the blank questions. So you know, fill in the blank is very versatile. We can use fill in the blank to test logic and comprehension. We can use fill in the blanks for vocabulary. We can also use fill in the blanks for grammar. So you typically see quite a few. Now the total number of questions is 15. So when I say quite a few, I'm talking about 2-3 fill in the blank questions which are driven by grammar. Additionally, you may find 1 or 2 error identification questions. So in these questions, we are given a sentence. Our job is to figure out if there is a grammatical mistake in that question. Additionally, we can get questions that are based on tense, voice and narration. So these automatically now become important areas for us, right? So when it comes to tense, there have been two ways in which they've asked this. They gave us sentence, they gave us a sentence and asked us for which tense is being used in it. And another variety is where they gave us a sentence which was of course written using a particular tense. So for example, last year in the second attempt of SNAP, they gave us a sentence which was written using the simple present tense. And they said that, okay, why don't you write it using the past perfect tense? So we had to change the tense of that sentence. Then you have voice. So remember voice from your school days? Active and passive essentially. And then you have narration, which is direct and indirect speech, in case you're not very familiar with narration. So in these questions, they typically give you a sentence and they ask you to change its voice or change its narration. So you need to be well versed with active and passive voice. You need to be well versed with direct and indirect speech. Then there were these questions that were based on word order. So last year in particular, what they did was that they gave a poem. The poem had just 4 sentences. They asked us which one of these 4 sentences follows the appropriate word order that is used in English. So you need to know about the basic syntax of different sentence types. So you remember the very basic declarative sentence syntax is a subject followed by a verb followed by an object. Then a subject is a noun or a pronoun, so you may have some adjectives added to it. Object is also a noun or a pronoun, so you may get some adjectives added to it. You can add some adverbs to the verb, and in case there are these different adjective phrases or adverbial phrases, and their sequence needs to be followed. So those are the kind of things that you are supposed to be aware of. In case you're not very comfortable with this, let us know. Just drop something in the chat box and we'd see if we can do something about it. So that word order. Then there have traditionally been questions that are based on grammar basics. I haven't seen them in the last couple of years, but when I say grammar basics, they may ask you to identify the part of speech of a particular word. They may ask you to identify the type of a given sentence. Remember, sentences can be simple, compound, complex, compound, complex. They may also ask you for a particular type of phrase or clause. So all of these grammar basics once again need to be focused on. So do you have any question, any concern with respect to grammar, or can we proceed further? Okay, so moving on, vocabulary. The next bit is vocab. So vocabulary, once again, I think I've already told you how we can work on that. In case you want additional clarity, browse this channel and you'd find a vocabulary strategy session here in which I've talked about what we need to do. So typically the suggestion is that you devote 20 to 30 minutes to vocabulary every day. In these 20-30 minutes, your job is to sit down and learn some new words. And those new words can be had from a word list, from a specialized vocabulary resource like WordPar Made Easy and others. The session that I've taken on these would typically address this question in far greater detail. So what kind of questions do we get asked? So we have questions that are based on synonyms and antonyms. We have questions that are based on idiomatic expressions. So there have been questions where we had to deal with an idiom, a proverb, a phrasal verb, those things, okay? And then we've had questions based on spellings. Even last year we had one spelling based question. Then we had these questions that were based on compound words. You know what compound words are? If yes, do let me know in the chat box down below so that the others can also find these useful. And then this is one of those areas where it goes beyond the standard vocabulary. We've had questions based on roots, prefixes and suffixes. So they typically give you 4 words and they'd ask you which one of these has a suffix or which one of these has a prefix, or the other way around, which one of these does not have a prefix, does not have a suffix. They may give you a root, they may tell you a meaning and say that, okay, give us a word from this root that is based on this root word that carries this or that conveys this meaning. So these kind of questions. ASG, gaming, where to learn all the idioms. There is the only source that contains all the idioms, all the phrasal verbs is a dictionary. But if you were to Google for high frequency idioms, high frequency phrasal verbs, you'd find some condensed lists. In fact, a lot of grammar books also typically give you a few pages on idioms and phrasal verbs which are used quite often. So you can go ahead and use those. Okay, but I would once again say that we should not keep our hopes very high when it comes to vocabulary. It's not possible for us to know everything, but if you work hard, then you end up becoming better than your competition, and if you are better than your competition, you will end up getting a better rank compared to them, and that's what counts, right? So that's about vocabulary. And finally, verbal ability. So when it comes to verbal ability, traditionally we've had fill in the blank questions, the ones where you're tested more on vocab and logic instead of just pure grammar. Then we have seen 1 or 2 parajumbles in this paper in the past. We did not have we did not see a parajumble last year, but then if you go back, if you look at the last 5 odd years of pattern, you'd see parajumbles and you'd also see verbal analogies. So that's the scope for verbal ability. Sannidhi, meaning of compound words. Okay, so compound words are words that are made up of 2 words. So there are times when 2 words come together to form a compound word, and there are 3 varieties. Okay, open compound words where 2 words come together but they do not form a single word. For example, when I say table lamp, a car park, a car parking, then these are open compound words. Then there are times and they of course do not give you open compound words in the exam. It's ridiculously easy to see that they are open, that they are compound words. So what they give you is a closed compound word where the 2 words come together and form a single word. For example, when we say this, it is formed by combining web and site. Or when I say a blackberry, black and berry, they come together to form a single word. And the third type of compound word is a hyphenated compound word. Remember words like these. These are once again not used in the snap because the kind of questions that they frame, hyphenated ones are going to be really easy for you to identify. So they mostly confine themselves to closed compound words. Okay, so now that you are here, I am here, and we know the kind of things that get asked, why not practice some questions? So snap asks you 15 questions in the exam. Let me do you one better. Let us go ahead and practice 16 questions together. Ready? Shall we start? So I'll give you a question. The directions are going to be within that question, and you typically have around 20 seconds for every question. I'm pushing you. I'm just trying to ensure that you are done with the entire Snap English section in 7 minutes flat. So let's see, or maybe even sooner. So here is question number 1. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to give me the synonym of the underlined word. Your time starts now. Ooh. So the correct answer here is option B, because adulation essentially means praise. That's basically it. And I think I think most of you have actually gone on to get this right. Laughter we know, praise we know, satisfied we know, disturbance we know. So I think we can skip the rest of them. And let me take you over to your next question now. Here is the next one. Once again, give me the synonym of the underlined word, and your time starts now. Saket, so adulation is when you admire somebody, and the word that is closest for admiration will be praise. So second question. What's your answer for this? So let me start. Indissolubly essentially means something that is impossible to take apart. Something where it will be impossible for you to bring it to an end. Okay, or something that exists for a really long time. For example, climate change and industrialization are indissolubly linked. So they're linked so closely that you cannot take them apart. Now, the word that is closest to that meaning, impossible to take apart, very closely intertwined, will be the word firmly, and therefore our answer here should be option A. Let's have a quick look at the meanings of these other words. Vaguely means something that is indefinite or unclear. Individually we know. Steadily is something that happens in a regular, even manner. Right? So that's question number 2. Here is the third one for you. Another one where I'm asking you for the synonym of the word interlocutor, and your time starts now. Okay, this is tricky. So first up, what is the meaning of an interlocutor? An interlocutor is somebody who is involved in a conversation or a dialogue where that person is representing someone else. So there are times when you have this situation where two parties do not trust each other. They're not willing to talk to each other, but they do have this one person that both of them trust. So that person can be appointed as an interlocutor. He essentially conveys what the two parties have said to the two parties. So he's involved in a conversation and is representing someone else in that conversation. The best or the closest word here will actually be dialogist. Dialogist is again, it has two meanings. One meaning is somebody who writes dialogues, and the other one is somebody who participates in a dialogue or a conversation, and therefore that undoubtedly should be our answer here. Here is the next question for you. This time around I am asking you for an antonym, no longer a synonym. This time around give me an antonym of the underlined word, and your time has started. Hello Anish, थोड़ा लेट हो गया यार आज. Okay, so somebody who is unmindful, as the name itself suggests, is not paying attention. Unmindful is somebody who is careless, somebody who is not really mentally there. So the opposite will be somebody who is mentally there, somebody who is paying close attention, and that word is going to be the word vigilant. Careless will be a synonym. Stupid and fatuous, both of them mean the same thing, but both of them are unrelated to unmindful. Neither synonyms nor antonyms. Here is the next question where I'm once again asking you for the antonym of the word transient. Your time starts now. So transient basically means something that is short-lived, something that does not last forever. One of these words means lasts forever, and that is eternal, and therefore that should be our answer. Okay, next, another question where I'm asking you for the antonym, and the clock is now ticking. Rupesh, turbulent, the opposite of turbulent will be something like peaceful and not something like transient. Okay, so let us see. What should our answer be? So what do you understand by heretic? My animations aren't really working very smoothly today. I think I need to check what is overloading my system. So heretic is a person who happens to hold an opinion that is at odds with what is generally accepted. So heretic is somebody who goes against the popular opinion. Now you have dissenter. Dissenter is a person who dissents, who disagrees. That is going to be a synonym for heretic, so it's not an answer. Believer. Believer is somebody who believes in the truth of something or the existence of something, or in terms of religion, somebody who follows the religious tenets. Heretic would not believe in that. Believer will. So they appear to be antonyms. Let's look at renegade. What is renegade? Renegade is a traitor. Renegade is somebody who promises, who commits and then goes back on that commitment. So in a way, a person who betrays. That's not going to be an antonym. If at all, it is more to the tune of a synonym. And similarly, when you say apostate, apostate is a person who renounces a religious or political belief, somebody who gives up a religious or political belief. So D is also going to be more in the nature of a synonym, and that is why the answer to this question should be option B. Okay. Yes, Vedant, absolutely, that's the correct meaning of apostate. Here is the next question for you. Look at the directions this time around. Which one of the following is not a compound word? And your clock is ticking. Take a guess. So the correct answer for us here is C, display. Waste and coat are two words. Break and fast, you are fasting overnight and then you have something and break that fast, comes from there. And railroad, road which uses rails. So C is the correct answer. It is not a compound word and therefore should have been marked as our answer. Here is the next question. What's wrong here? Anyhow, choose the correct meaning of the idiom, and the idiom given to you is hair of the dog, and your time starts now. Okay, Vedant. So the correct answer here is option A. So you know what a hangover is, right? There are times when somebody consumes a lot of alcohol, liquor, and then they are dehydrated, which translates into a general weakness and a headache and all. So some people say that one of the ways of overcoming that hangover is to drink some more. So that additional drink that you take to cure your hangover is known as hair of the dog. So you may look at somebody and say, oh, you have a hangover and you have a work to go to. Here, have another drink, have a hair of the dog, and that will fix it for you. So it is A. And here is one more question of the same variety, where I am asking you for the correct meaning of the idiom, and this time around the idiomatic expression is to take French leave. Your time starts now. So to take French leave. So the correct answer here is option D. To take, the other words for to take French leave are words like, maybe you've heard of it, furlough or AWOL, away without official leave. But when you are away without official leave, it basically means that you are away without official leave, but you do not have any intention to desert. You will come back. You're not leaving permanently. And that is why the correct answer here will be D, leave without any intimation. Here is your next question, question number 10 on the screen. You've been given 4 words. Choose the word which is correctly spelled, and the clock is ticking. So the correct answer is D. The first one should have been philanderer. Who is a philanderer? Somebody who frequently enters into casual sexual relationships with women is known as a philanderer. The next word is snobbish. Should have been a single O here. Somebody who is a snob is somebody who is arrogant. Then the next word should be portend. The I needs to go out. Portend basically means to foretell, to act as a sign or a warning that something, usually something bad, is likely to happen. And Pharaoh is the title of the kings in the ancient Egypt. Kings were called pharaohs, so that was correctly spelled here. Vedant, none of these words really mean a spendthrift, huh? Okay, here is the next one, another one based on spelling. So which one? Yeah, premonition can definitely be used for portend. Which one of these is correctly spelled? The time starts. So the correct answer here is option C. Verisimilitude as a word, how do I not go on to define it for you? It means the appearance of being true, the appearance of being real. For example, you know this movie Avatar? James Cameron said that he had the script of Avatar in his mind for a long time, but he chose not to make it. For almost 15 years, he chose not to make it because the kind of special effect technology, CGI, computer generated imagery, that was available was not up to the mark. The CGI could not make things real. And when James Cameron saw that, okay, now CGI gives me this opportunity to make my vision look real, now I can go ahead and make Avatar. Right? So he required a certain level of visual verisimilitude, appearance of being real from his CGI. And the correct spelling we've already shared is given in C. In option B, you have an I missing after R. So that's what helped us rule that out. Okay, here is your next question. This time around, a fill in the blank. Why am I saying blab? Fill in the blank with the most appropriate word, and your time starts now. You can choose to take longer if you want to. I'll give you 5 extra seconds. So the correct answer here is going to be option A. The reason is the preposition immediately after the blank is off. If you use emphasis, emphasis is followed by on, belief is followed by in, stress is followed by on or upon. When it comes to B, C and D, they are not even followed by the preposition off. Command is the only one that gets followed by off, and therefore that becomes the correct answer choice automatically for us. By the dint of, Vedant, that's not dent, that is dint, D-I-N-T. Okay, here is the next fill in the blank. In the last question, I tested your understanding of prepositions indirectly, but then in the exam, Snap guys test it rather directly. So here it is for you. Go ahead and tell me what you think. I'll once again give you 5 extra seconds. Okay, so the correct answer here is with. Endowed as a preposition is followed by with, and not any of these other options, and therefore let's just go ahead and choose that. Here is your next one. I hope this one will be easier for you, and your time starts now. So the correct answer here should be A. You are doubtful about something and not upon, at, or for. So the principle involved here is the concept of fixed prepositions, or we at times also call it dependent prepositions. There is no logic here. There are certain words, some nouns, verbs, adjectives that are followed by a particular preposition. You either know it or you do not, and therefore it all boils down to that knowledge. Here is your next question. This time around you have a fill in the blank, but it is not based on grammar. This is the one which is driven more by comprehension and logic. So go ahead, read the sentence, think of what it says, what it communicates, and then choose the right word from the given options. Vedant, that'll be wrong. You're doubtful about something. I'm assuming you're talking about the previous question, right? So in the previous question, it had to be with, which you're doubtful of. Yes, there are situations where we use doubtful of. You could be doubtful of yourself, doubtful of the effectiveness of a device. So we do use of in some situations, yes. Okay, so the right answer here is going to be option C. So the reason is, look at this part, entreaties. Entreaties is where you request, kind of, almost beg. So if somebody is requesting a lot, begging you to do something, and in spite, then you are generally, you give in. But here, in spite of tells you that we should have the opposite of it. So the opposite of what should happen is indifferent. Somebody begged, the old woman begged, it made no difference on you, made no impact on you. So it won't be ashamed. Docile is easy to manage. Lethargic is where you feel lazy, where you feel that you have no energy. So A, B and D will not make any sense in this particular question. And here is your question number 16, where I am asking you to change the voice of the given sentence. So the sentence is, sugar is grown in Cuba. What's your take? So the correct answer is option A. So the sentence that is given to you is already in the passive voice. So there is somebody who grows sugar in Cuba. It's obviously not going to be a single person. So you just needed to reintroduce that subject and create a sentence. A does that and should therefore be the correct answer. So that's about the kind of questions that we can expect in SNAP. Stay tuned. We will, moving forward, bring you many more of these questions, and these questions you'd also find them useful for other exams like TISNET, ZAT, Maharashtra CET, CMAT, so NMAT for that matter. So if you are preparing for any of those exams, I think these sessions are definitely going to be very, very, very helpful for you. Right? So if you liked working with me on this, please make sure that you do like this session. Those of you who are new here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And here's a thought that I want to leave you with today. Get a good idea and stay with it. Dog it. So dog it here means show perseverance, okay? Show tenacity and work at it until it is done right. So you have a good idea of getting into a B school and moving towards a great career. Now that you have this idea, stay at it, make it happen. Okay, and if you want more practice, you can join our test series where we give you more than 80 mocks, and you notice 55 of those are non-CAT mocks. So mock snaps, mock NMATs, all of those, of course. And then if you want to work even more closely, if you think you need more help, you can consider joining our batch. To make it easy for you to join our batch, we are giving you a 3-day of trial. It's free of cost, free of charge. So you can go ahead and experience us. On top of that, we also have a scholarship test happening on 10th of September that can lead to a very sweet deal. And our batches have produced great results in the past. So you can rest assured that we'd give you great quality. And once again, a quick reminder about the All India Open Mock, which will begin on 8th of September. less than a week to go. So get ready for that as well. So that's it from me today. If you have any question, any concern, do share that with us in the chat window. And until I see you next, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. Keep letting me know what you need, right? Have a great day ahead. Take care.